Hi Taurus, this is your reading for May 2019. Although if you're watching this at a time beyond May 2019, this is still relevant. It can be a timeless reading as well. So take a moment here while I'm shuffling to check in with your higher self and your guides. Ask them to connect with me so that I can get clear messages for you via the feedback loop that we create by making that connection. Let's take a look. The Emperor. Okay, Taurus. This central axis here of the reading coming from the foundation, which is your unconscious mind, to the crowning card, which is your conscious mind. It's a very interesting axis of information here, showing that deep down what's really important to you at this time, whether or not you know it, is your contentedness and your fulfillment. And that's really beautiful to see here as the foundational card of the reading. The Nine of Cups is talking about your emotional well-being and your fulfillment and satisfaction and happiness in life. And seeing here in the foundation of your reading does say to me that, as I said, whether or not you're aware of it, the driving forces that are moving you towards the decisions that you're making at this time is really being driven by that concept, that principle, that your well-being and your fulfillment is the most important thing. And that's absolutely how it should always be. Now, at the heart of the reading, you have the Emperor, and it's crossed by the Three of Cups. This is a very interesting pairing of cards here. So the Emperor for me is saying that at this time, your focus may be on how to establish your foundation. It could be indicating that also you might be looking at your financial situation and your work, and you might be considering how to design your future in order to create the fulfillment that you want, in order to be able to create the stability and the wealth and the how else? Like how you can manifest and solidify your resources in a way that assures a certain sense of comfort and stability that makes you have that allows for you to have that sense of fulfillment and contentedness, because those things are taken care of, and it's not day-to-day worries that are kind of influencing or affecting your ability to be creative or be driven towards the aspirations that you have, because you're not trifling over like how I'm going to pay my rent this month, you know. And I think this is really beautiful aspect that we're looking at here for Taurians at this time, to kind of really make something really stable set up now, so that you have a sense of freedom to move into the direction that you want to go to, as far as how you want to express, how you want to move forward in your life, as far as your fulfillment of your aspirations and moving towards sort of an emotional and spiritual fulfillment without the worries of, you know, financial stress. And I love that the Ace of Swords here is the crowning card in your reading. Again, this is saying to me that you have a sort of certain clarity at this time, that you are making decisions that is kind of defining you in a way that your strategy or your strategic decision making right now, and movement of energy in terms of how you set yourself up for a stable and solid future is happening right now. And yeah, decisions that you make now could potentially have a very long-reaching effect. So I think there is a feeling here with these other cards here that you understand the importance of making good decisions right now, that you have the understanding that it's wise to be really informed and be really careful and thoughtful and considerate about how you move in these next weeks, months of this year. We'll get into some other cards here now. So you have the Hermit here in reverse with the Queen of Cups. This is in the position of how you see yourself at this time. So I'm seeing the Hermit in reverse here as not a negative connotation at all, actually. I feel that having the Hermit there paired with the Queen of Cups is saying that you may be looking to kind of emerge from a time of being a little bit isolated in order to have like meaningful social interactions. That's also the Three of Cups here is the crossing card of your reading. I feel like for some of you, you may have been a little bit antisocial. Maybe for a good chunk of this year, you might have been feeling a little bit withdrawn and less interested in social contact with people. And maybe you're feeling the time now where you actually do. I'm hearing emerge. Some of you might be coming out of your hibernation or out of your cave, and maybe are looking to make really specific and considerate, meaning you're considering carefully, social contact with people that you feel will really nurture you and are really supportive of you on an emotional level, on an intellectual level as well. So this Hermit in reverse, I'm seeing it as a selective emerging, a selective social interaction with someone or some people in your friends circle that are close to you, that understand you very well and that will really nurture you in ways that you really feel like you need to be nurtured at this time, in alignment with this feeling of like happiness and contentedness. I'm feeling like this Three of Cups as the crossing card of the reading is saying that you may not be that interested in light-hearted social interaction around this time. You might be looking more for, this could be more about also counsel, like receiving counsel, whether that's actually, this Hermit could be, professional advice as well with regard to what we spoke on in the first part of the reading. Like this could be you seeking professional help, like getting financial advice or tax advice or even like counseling. Like this could be someone, whether or not it's in a professional sense, but these are conversations that you're having that are about getting advice. Let's put it that way. Getting advice from a professional, or getting whether or not, as I said, it's a professional relationship with someone where you actually pay them for their time and get advice that's like really clear about your obligations legally or whatever, or if it's like counseling or therapy, or if it's simply, as I said, really considerate and specific contact with someone that you know, that you trust, that nurtures you and that can provide a type of emotional support that is nurturing and that's well needed at this time, given that there's a sort of seriousness in this reading. Like it feels as though there's some like careful planning and thoughtful like ideas going on, and it's almost like you don't want to be disturbed too much by like frivolous, kind of silly, lighthearted kind of conversation or interactions at this time, and you'd rather kind of conserve and protect your own energy by being very particular about who you may reach out to for any type of communication or social contact. Now in the position of your environment, you have the Eight of Swords in reverse with the Star in reverse. Interestingly, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swords cards in the reading, and 3 of them are on this half of the reading, and you have 6, 7, and 8 of Swords all in reverse here on this half of the reading. So I'm seeing this as a kind of changing your mind. And again, like this crowning card of the Ace of Swords here is kind of like presiding over the reading, and it's suggesting that like this kind of energy of like, I feel like maybe for some of you have been in a sort of long process of like deliberation, thoughts tumbling around and ideas tumbling around, and maybe there has been until recently, very recently, like maybe right at this time, until very recently, there may have been some confusion, there may have been some uncertainty, there may have been maybe a lack of clarity, which is now coming through finally after some months perhaps of uncertainty about how to move forward. And maybe that and not necessarily in a bad way, but more like there has been perhaps, you have been able to identify that there has been a need to make some changes in your life in order to create this sort of stability and a strength in your physical, substantial areas of your life, whether that's actually your home environment or your wealth or your commitments in terms of your relationships, but business partnerships, work engagements, and things that you really deliver your energy to. There has been a need to kind of, as I said, strategize, reconsider, reevaluate, and determine what things you're going to keep and what things you may be letting go of or moving away from. And that's indicated here by the Seven of Swords in reverse, Eight of Swords, and the Six of Swords. All these swords cards in reverse, 6, 7, and 8, are saying that exactly what I just described, like consideration, evaluation, redefining, clarification. But there has been, as I said, until very recently, probably an inability to make a really clear decision. But I feel that during this time, you are actually able to make that decision or those decisions. And from that point, you'll be able to move forward clearly and actually take the steps needed to actually put things in place in the way that is needed here to establish a way for your energy to be built up and scaled up in order to kind of exponentiate your energy field so that you can move in the direction of your path, your spiritual path, your I'm hearing evaluation, but I feel it's more about like being able to establish yourself in a certain way so that you can grow in your spiritual endeavor without having to worry about, as I said, how I'm going to pay next month's rent. So, and for some of you, those things are combined. They're not separate things. Like it doesn't, like I'm not seeing this as like, oh, I need to get my money in order so I can have my spiritual life, and they don't have to be separate things. They can be definitely one and the same. Energy follows thought, and where we put our energy and our effort into, money is a part of that, right? So this could also be about you redefining your path in terms of your actual work and the way you present yourself and how you receive reward for that. Like there's also this interesting combination here in the outcome position. So let's talk about these cards now. Here you have the Six of Swords in reverse with the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. And then in this quadrant you have the Queen of Swords in reverse with the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. So this is a very interesting pairing of cards, creating this kind of synergy of information that's saying to me that for some of you, some of you may be actually really, just a sec. The Ten of Pentacles in reverse there could suggest that you are either changing the, I'm hearing recalibrate, redefining and recalibrating the structure within either a family or a business or some kind of unit where there's like cooperative effort. It's like a change in structure and the way that you decide to pool resources or gather resources and combine them in ways that actually facilitates and benefits everyone involved to actually be on their course, on their way, in their chosen path. And yeah, with this Six of Swords in reverse, there is something there about going back to like an old system or just reviewing the way things have been done in the past with regard to that, with regard to like the shared resources within a unit, within a business, within a family, within a marriage, maybe you live in a communal house. There's something there about restructuring the way that resources are pooled and shared in order to kind of support and facilitate each person's individual journey. I'll leave that there because I feel like that's clear enough, even though it's a little bit abstract. And then Queen of Swords here with the Seven of Pentacles. I'm hearing reimburse. Some of you may be asking for a loan or getting financial support from a family member or a friend. I'm seeing something here with regard to like credit or borrowing or getting like financial support in order to kind of facilitate some changes that are going on. And some of you might be the person who is actually giving that loan. Some of you are asking for help financially from either a financial institution or a parent or a friend or something, getting a loan. And for some of you, you're on the other end of that, where you're actually the person who's facilitating a financial support for someone who may be needing help to kind of get them through a transitional stage, where you. And I think you can see, like, there's a loving energy around that, where like you can see the integrity that that person has. You can see the vision they have. You can see the clarity that they have of their, direction they want to go in. And you can see that there is like a little bit of a tricky moment where there's got to be a transition made from where they are now to where they want to get to. And this financial support will be very beneficial towards their journey of actually growing into the person that they are seeing themselves becoming. And that's a very beautiful gift that you can do to support that person in their path. I didn't really talk about the Star card here with the Eight of Swords, but I did kind of, I feel like I covered everything there with that, like, reevaluation, redirection. And I feel like the Star there is kind of lending support for how this time period of shuffling and strategizing and planning and, projecting into the future to kind of innovate and facilitate your own, redirection. There's a bit of a redirection of energy here, where maybe you feel like you've done something for some time and you may be closing out a cycle, or you may be exponentiating on a specific part of your life that you have already been organizing and working on. And maybe this is time for like an expanded version of that to actually be manifest and brought through. And so that's the energy of the Star there. It's just like helping to reorganize and reevaluate and redirect some energy. And a lot of it is like like energetically, like thoughts, ideas, and concepts that then need a physical outlet for. I hope that's being clear here. Now, finally, you have the Nine of Wands here in the outcome position in reverse. This says to me that a time of struggle is over. I feel like for a lot of Taurians, myself included, there has been a very extended period of feeling, how do I describe that? Just this like level of endurance that we've been maintaining for quite a long time. For some of us, it's been a few years even, of like just kind of being on your grind and super dedicated to what you're doing, but also like a little bit of frustration in that, with this feeling of like, will this ever get better? Will this ever change? Will my condition ever improve? Will my situation ever improve? Will my finances ever improve? And I feel this is the time now where you are actually choosing to make that transition away from that downtrodden, struggle into a space where there's a little bit more ease. There's a little bit more of a gracefulness with the way you allow energy to flow through you in order to receive that kind of abundance. And some of it has been about like your own personal limitations. There's been some, mental constriction around receiving, around abundance, around like support and energy flowing to you in a way that like facilitates for you. And it's a little bit been like we're a little bit of our own worst enemy, I feel, with that a little bit. I think there's a need to open up more to receive support and help and allow other people to facilitate. I'm hearing also delegation. So being able to like allow some of the control to be released in order for other people to step in and fulfill their role and their journey and their path and their course, that feeds into, and again, it's this feeling of like communal effort, working together, each person having their own, understanding of their role and defining their way of contributing, and that being different for everyone. Bottom of the deck, we have Knight of Wands, Five of Swords, the Lovers, and the Ten of Cups. Wow, nice. What do I say here? I feel that for some, the Lovers and the Ten of Cups here is I kind of have to say, like, some people might be starting a new relationship at this time, which could potentially be something that is very enduring and very fulfilling and satisfying. So there's this 9 of Cups and the 10 of Cups now. So I think coming from this space of like personal development, personal fulfillment, contentedness, happiness, the drive that individuals have to kind of like manifest and fulfill their own path, their own energy signature in a way that they feel is like authentic and meaningful to them, then could potentially lead to a union. For some of you, this is a business partnership or someone showing up that could support you in your business decisions, in your business strategizing. It may not necessarily be someone that you actually can join, like sign a contract with or actually go into business with, but I feel like there's definitely this feeling here of really beautiful, supportive energy coming in to contribute. I'm hearing contribute. I feel that there's a need to say here, like, really pay more attention to like your state of awareness as far as the level of openness that you are sustaining in order to allow this energy to come in. Okay, don't block yourself. Remove resistance. That's part of what some of this 8 of Swords energy is. It's like understanding that you've created some resistance, and that resistance, whether it's through, you know, cynicism or uncertainty, I mean, there's a spectrum there, right? But that in itself can prevent sometimes from the solutions actually being available to you, because mentally you've already clouded the situation by allowing doubt. And of course you have to have that kind of discernment of like, you have to ask good questions, right? But here I want to say Knight of Wands with the 5 of Swords. I feel like there could be something here either about, I actually feel like there's a really positive, beneficial energy coming from this 5 of Swords here. Normally the 5 of Swords is about defeat, argumentativeness, one person having the loudest voice and that person winning an argument just because they could be a little bit of a bully or a bit aggressive and persistent in their idea that the other people just kind of walk away and give up because they can't be bothered dealing with that energy, even if that person may not be right. But I feel like in this situation here, I'm feeling this more as it's almost a continuation, because as I said, you know, you had the 6, 7, and 8 of Swords here. Now you've got the 5 as well. So 5, 6, 7, and 8. I feel like this is describing your own overcoming of your own internal argumentativeness, you know, where you kind of actually are maybe able to release some of that cynicism and doubt and uncertainty, and actually let this fiery, youthful, like, I'm hearing antagonistic. So maybe you're overcoming your own internal antagonism. But what I was feeling there was that this Knight of Wands can bring a kind of fiery, youthful enthusiasm to a situation to overcome cynicism, and I'm hearing bitterness and any kind of like old energy, like resentfulness, or sort of any of this kind of sword energy from the past that this feels like past energy. Overcoming this kind of stuckness, stubbornness, fixed mental energy of needing to have your opinion be the loudest one that everyone else agrees to, and bringing this more enthusiastic, youthful energy to a situation to kind of shift and break free of that defeatedness of the 5 of Swords. Okay, Taurus, that was a really beautiful reading. I feel like that's it. Let me just double check to make sure I haven't missed anything here. I love that Ace of Swords as the crowning card of the reading. It does feel like coming into a time of clarity now after, as I said, for some of us, extended months and maybe even years of like uncertainty and reevaluating and kind of ideas tumbling over and over again, maybe for a little bit too long, to the point where it felt like, is this seriously ever going to end? Like, come on, I need a break here. This feels really nice, this beautiful kind of clarity, uprising of energy. And with that energy comes this feeling of willingness to move forward, and in order to kind of actualize this Emperor energy of like ensuring one's sort of stability and groundedness, and establishing a clear and strategized foundations for physical and financial prospects, in order to focus more on personal development, spiritual drive, and expression of the self in the most unique way. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take the Voyager deck now and shuffle again to give you a higher octave reading. This will provide a little more insight into what's happening on a karmic spiritual level, and perhaps provide some more insight on how to work with the energies available to us to get the most out of the opportunities that are in front of us. So while I shuffle, please send your energy over into the deck so I can get really clear messages for you. Woman of Crystals here, which is this Queen of Swords energy. So we're having already repeating cards in your spread. Crossed by the Seven of Wands, Four of Wands, the Moon, Lovers reversed, Man of Crystals reversed, Time Space in reverse. This is the Judgment card from the Rider-Waite deck. Eight of Worlds, Two of Worlds, Six of Crystals reversed, Woman of Worlds reversed, Balance, which is the Justice card from the Major Arcana, and Sage of Crystals. Oh, one more. Sage of Cups and Sage of Crystals here at the bottom. Okay, interesting cards here. Let's take a look. It is more or less a reiteration of what we've just talked about, but there's some additional things here that I'll go into in a second. I do want to say that at the heart of the reading, having this Woman of Crystals, who's the Queen of Swords, upright, crossed by the Seven of Wands here. It's really beautiful energy. Again, very clear. It's the feeling here is that you're coming from this. It's kind of interesting. Like you had here the Emperor in the previous reading, talking about establishing a foundation and being able to consolidate your energy and strategize in order to kind of create your empire. And then in this reading you have this Woman of Crystals in the same position, and here you have the Moon. So it's kind of like the feminine aspect of that, where it is like the focus here is a little bit more on clarity of mind and heart, the cultivation of wisdom through experience, and building upon what you feel intuitively to be the direction for your life that you want to go in. With this Four of Wands, look at the image in this card. This Four of Wands, it's called aspiration in this deck. So there's this feeling here of like striving forward and reaching towards what is your authentic self and the path of your life, the course of your life, the direction that you want to take it through a kind of a calm, quiet knowing of the direction for you to go in. And the crossing card here, the Seven of Wands, is called Courage in this deck. I really like this card. And again, it's just kind of a nod to, or an indicator to the direction that you need to go, which you already know, and that is that you will need to really pull all your resources together and work towards the vision of your life, using your fire, using your courage, using optimism, using aspiration, using foresight, and moving with clear knowing and discernment towards what you know is your personal expression. So here in this quadrant we have the Time Space card. As I mentioned, this is Judgment in this deck, paired with the Sage of Cups. So this is saying to me that you're at this point in your life where you actually want to completely do a makeover in a way. And maybe this is not like a new decision. Maybe this is something you've been working towards. And like I said in the previous reading, there's all that Swords energy on that half of the reading that was describing reevaluating, reassessing, redirecting your energy. And this is what I feel is part of what's being described here, is that you may have already been kind of designing the layout of what you feel like is your direction that you want to go in. You may have been already studying or working towards a certain new direction or a new thing. This is kind of saying like, it feels like this might be actually the point of I'm hearing point of no return, but this is maybe the point where things actually really start to be expressed in the physical world in a way that other people also see. You know, you might have been working on your decision-making process in private for a long time, and maybe this is a point where things become clear to other people. It could be about you expressing your desire to make changes in your life to people around you. You might not have been sharing much about this until now. And the Sage of Cups here is saying you had the Queen of Cups here in the previous reading in the same position. Again, this is a feeling here of being wanting to move towards more emotionally fulfilling, emotionally satisfying activities and expressions and processes. It could also be that there is again another indicator here of seeking professional help or seeking counsel, seeking guidance from someone who's a bit more wise and experienced than you, whether it's in a professional sense or whether it's in a personal sense, like going to seek advice from a trusted friend. That's also being described here. And then here in the environment you have 8 of Worlds with the Sage of Crystals. Again, same kind of energy. There's this element of like wanting to create change, especially with regard to your work life, how you express in the physical world, how you create money and resources for yourself. There's something here about, again, this another swords card here, crystals. You have Woman of Crystals, Man of Crystals, and Sage of Crystals in your reading. That's quite interesting. You have also the 6 of Crystals here in your spread. So again, more swords energies, but these are all the court cards now. So I feel like, but I don't necessarily see these cards in this reading as other people. I'm seeing this more as you, and more of a kind of the overall energy of a lot of the cards in both spreads is about changing your mind. And I feel like a lot of what this has been, as I've mentioned already in this reading, a lot of what's been going on for many Tauruses is like a lot of reevaluation and processing of information, which could have felt frustrating at times and a little bit like irritating that it's going on so long before you find clarity. But I feel like this is the time now where like things are actually going to get easier, because the confusion is over, the clarity has been reached. There is decisions being made now after long deliberation, after long consideration, and this is a time where I feel like for a lot of people you'll feel the inertia be released and momentum start to build after here. Thank God. Now, 2 of Worlds in the position of Hopes and Fears with the Balance card. So, again, this is saying that maybe with some of what's going on here, there could be for some of you, like if there is decisions being made with regard to changes in your business, in your home life, in the structures, in your employment or whatever, there could be here something about like decisions being made that will affect legal matters. So there could be some new contracts being signed. Some of you might be taking on new leases. Some of you might be getting married. Some of you might be getting divorced. There's indications here of legal matters, and all beneficial. Like whether it's just change is happening, and we want this change. We've needed this change for a long time. So it's a feeling of, like, as I said, the inertia being overcome and the stagnancy maybe being overcome, and finally energy moving in a direction, in a clear direction, confusion overcome, clarity gained, and a new physical energy of being actually able to like access more light. Because sometimes, you know, like when you have long periods of uncertainty and cloudiness and confusion, indecisiveness, it takes energy, and it takes physical energy, and it takes some of your vibrancy, it takes some of your enthusiasm, it takes some of your vitality. And I feel like that part is also over now too, where there's going to be like more bounding kind of physical energy to be able to move forward with like a buoyancy and an enthusiasm that may have been lacking for some of us for a little while. Overall, the feeling here is of clarity. It's of wisdom and understanding. I think for a lot of us, there's been this energy too of like, you know where you want to go and what you want to do, but there's been a little bit of insecurity and uncertainty about your talents and gifts. There's also been like, for some of you, and myself included here, like if you work alone for the most part, some of these decisions feel really big and may have been a bit overwhelming, and there may have been some holding back or caution, because like sometimes it feels scary to make some of these decisions on your own without someone to support or encourage you or make you feel like everything's going to be okay. But this is feeling like you've broken through that, and using your courage, using your foresight, using your intuition, using your enthusiasm, and using just sheer strength and willpower. There is a feeling here like those decisions can now be made with a sense of having overcome all the fears and having worked through all the worst case scenarios, and realizing that even if it doesn't work out, it's still okay. It's still okay. You've got to move ahead here. You've got to make the effort to change and to try something new. Even if you are still a little bit afraid, you still have to pierce through that and move forward, because you can't stay where you are much longer. Let's have a look at the bottom of the deck. Three of Worlds, called nurturing in this deck. I like that. Again, there's this feeling of like optimism in a physical sense. There's a feeling of like fruitfulness ahead. There's a feeling of like, again, decisions having been made and now being put into the stream of actual physical activity and making things happen. Could be collaborative as well with the three. Devil's play in reverse. There's the Hermit again. Interesting. Upright with the Ace of Cups here. So again, more positive energy towards like having overcome a period of like uncertainty, maybe a period of doubt, a period of maybe feeling insecure, unsure how to move forward, feeling maybe isolated and kind of stuck in your own internal process, and not feeling necessarily like there's very many places to go to that you can really trust, that you can really open up to and help you kind of process information in a way that will bring you to a greater clarity. But again, a feeling here of that time being over, of energy finally moving, of like breaking through of a kind of inertia or lack of momentum into a kind of new beginning that just feels really fresh. This Ace of Cups here is awesome as the final card of the reading. I love it. It's called Ecstasy. And again, this feeling of like blossoming, opening. The three of Worlds is called nurturing in this deck. Like all the fruit there is feeling very much like you're going to get yours. You're going to get yours. Like all the effort you're putting in is not going unnoticed, you know, energetically. It's not about recognition or accolades from people. It's not about that. This is more like your process of thoughtfulness, discrimination, discernment, clarifying, like really making very, like analyzing all the information in front of you in order to really put things in order in a way to move. So close to the end and the battery ran out there, but I was basically finished, more or less just saying that the things that you are putting in place, the carefulness and the thoughtfulness and the discernment and the decision making and strategizing you've been doing will come to fruition. It will have been worth it. Now it's I feel a time to put aside the mental struggle and the mental anguish and the need to like overthink things and try to solve the problem by thinking about it, and just let go and allow it to come to you. Let all the work you've been doing as far as like putting things in place in order to manifest, just let it come to you now, and set aside your doubts, set aside your cynicism, set aside your frustrations and irritabilities and lack of knowing that it's coming in, and just let the universe work with you, okay? All right, so that's going to be your reading for this month. Happy birthday to all the Tauruses. As I said at the beginning of the reading, this reading works at any time you watch it, so never mind about the times or the month. Also, what else? Watch it again if you have time now. There was a lot of information in there. You might want to also review it at the end of the month, because things may not make sense when you watch this right now, but after some events have unfolded, you might find some of these insights to be extremely helpful and supportive of you on your way. So do watch it again at the end of the month. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. If you have, thank you so much. It means everything to have you here, and I appreciate your time. So look forward to seeing you in next month's reading.